My name is Mike S. And with the launch of Sonnet 4.5, there was just one conclusion that could be had. And it kind of just like hit me like some blinding blue lights. Namely, that OpenAI has completely outclassed and outmaneuvered the companies formerly known as FAANG. In this video, I'm going to tell you who FAANG is. I'm going to describe the latest piece of software created by Anthropic, and I'm going to do this all in under 5 minutes, so let's get started. This is FAANG. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. In the very near past, these were all software companies. Today, only two of these, Google and Meta, remain competitive in creating modern software. If you don't believe me that Apple's a software company, well, let's just hear from Steve Jobs.
The big secret about Apple, of course, not so big secret maybe, is that Apple views itself as a software company.
And that was definitely true, right? Steve Jobs says it, and he goes through in this interview and discusses exactly why Apple's a software company. Now, I would argue since 2021, when Apple unleashed the M1, in 2020, they shifted to being a purely hardware company. And that move was very intelligent. By the way, they've also been heavily involved in media. Apple has had films nominated for various awards in media. So Apple completely threw in the towel. Next up, we've got Amazon. Now, Amazon was obviously a software company up until very recently. You know, if you would have created a web application or a mobile app with a back end in any of the 2010s, you would have likely used AWS. As of today, or as of the most recent data, only 31 to 33% of the global cloud infrastructure service market is powered by AWS. The big problem Amazon has when it comes to software is that they were just completely late to the AI party. While Meta and Google have made attempts to compete with respect to artificial intelligence, Amazon didn't even partake. And like Apple, they're no longer creating, they're creating media. So that with Amazon Prime, they're fundamentally not a software company purely anymore. Next, we got Netflix. Now, Netflix, I think, was always kind of on the fringe here. Now, they're definitely, even though some of the software engineering tasks that you would do as a Netflix engineer are pretty cutting edge or difficult, considering the amount of requests and the amount of the data going through, Netflix is today a media company. They don't buy many software companies. They buy media and then show it on their platform. And then there were two. So Meta's still got their hand in the software game, and Google does definitely. But I would like to talk about Google because I think they're the ones that are the most fascinating. I find Google to be the most interesting of the two. And Elon's going to tell us why the state of the AI space back in the early 2010s when he ended up funding OpenAI. I want you guys to have a listen, and then we'll talk about it.
Google had acquired DeepMind. They had probably two-thirds of all AI research, probably two-thirds of all the AI researchers in the world. Mm-hmm. They had basically infinite money and compute.
So that's kind of the key piece, right? This key piece that Google had two-thirds of the AI researchers in the world, unlimited money. Yet if we look at the fruits of their labor, you will find some, but nothing in comparison to what we see with OpenAI. Now, Anthropic, who's kind of like the focus of this video in some regard, they recently did a $13 billion round, put their valuation at $183 billion. And I want to talk about their feature set here in a second. But of course, Anthro was founded by former OpenAI researchers. So even though OpenAI didn't have nearly the resources, didn't have nearly the amount of money that Google did, they're still producing people and products that just put Google to shame. Now, another one I'll just point out while I'm here, Thinking Machines Lab raised $2 billion without a product. They have a valuation of $10 billion, primarily on the backs of their founder being a former CTO at OpenAI. So the labor coming out of OpenAI is just dwarfing the production and, let's say, the financial gain from what we saw at Google. So we're going to watch a little bit of the introduction to what's called Imagine from Anthropic. Just have a listen to what they're doing.
AI to build software. It's called Imagine with Claude. Imagine with Claude is still building software, but we've cut out the middleman. Instead of writing code that describes this text box, Claude just makes the text box. We've given it access.
So I don't think, for those of you who aren't software engineers, can really put in perspective just how meaningful this is. This is effectively erasing the high-level software engineering layer. So you're not even writing code. Like today, what happens is you write a prompt, code is generated, you run the code. What Anthro introduced yesterday, an experimental, and it's not fully developed, but it is where your head should be going if you're thinking about the software engineering space. It makes no sense to prompt then generate code. Really, what makes sense is to reinvent the way software is created. Now, he's going to make one other point in this video, and I want to share that.
Sure. Will we still have to rely on pre-made software? Or will we be able to create whatever software we want as soon as we need it?
Will we need pre-made software, or will we be able to just generate the software when we need it? I can't express to you like how fundamental of a shift this is from how software is being created. I guess at this point, I'll just introduce myself. I'm a software engineer and have been for over a decade, and have been recruited heavily by companies like Meta or Google to this day. And it just really blows my mind that with all the resources in the world, allegedly hiring the most talented people at Google and Meta, they're just getting completely outplayed hand in hand, or time after time, by a handful of devs or a handful of AI researchers at OpenAI and now Anthropic. And then there was one. Now, with Meta, they've mostly been in the news for Zuckerberg looking foolish in introducing a product. No Steve Jobs, mind you. But also the degree to which they've hired or poached talent from OpenAI. Now, as we heard earlier, 2/3 of the AI researchers worked at Google. Well, the remaining third that didn't work for Google have went on to create Anthropic, have went on to get million-dollar bonuses at Meta, have founded billion-dollar companies like Thinking Machines. The main point, like the main moral of this story is FAANG, which allegedly was the most difficult jobs to get, which they made a movie about in the case of the internship in 2013, allegedly collecting the best and brightest across the world, have had to instead resort to poaching talent from OpenAI. If you want the story in the nutshell, that's the main takeaway. That despite all their resources, despite having the resources like the New York Yankees, they were unable to generate internally the type of talent that is completely changing the space. If you like what you heard here, my name is Mike S. I stream on Twitch. I also post content here on YouTube. So please give this a like, give it a share, and I'll keep creating content for you folks in the future. All right, peace, homies.